you should probably expect spoilers.
You know, I think there comes a time in every nerd's life where they've got to defend the character that a lot of people don't like much. And my time just happens to be now, so here I go. She's a character who thought the Sphinx looked so cute, she had to shave it. Who dat? It's Amy Rose. Once upon a time, I attempted to see if there was anything I could potentially like about Big the Cat. You remember that episode, yeah? Turns out the silly Gump wasn't as bad a character as I thought he was. He wasn't great, but I warmed up to him a little. See, that was interesting because it was me that needed convincing. Now the opposite is happening. I'm sitting here with a character that I absolutely love, and I've got to try and convince you, the viewer, that she's not as bad as people make her out to be. Which is such an impossible mission that I'm half expecting Tom Cruise to turn up and tell me, allow it fam, I bought the whole damn thing. No, I won't be discouraged by Tom Cruise of all people, okay? I'm gonna get us through this episode, and hopefully by the end of it, you and me are gonna come out the other side of this episode, you know, holding hands, walking through fields of gold, and nodding our heads in agreement, yeah? I ain't got hope in hell, man, I'm fucked! Before anybody asks, I'm only covering Amy Rose from the video game series. If I started diving into her comic book and cartoon versions, then this episode is going to stretch to 40 minutes, and good lord, trying to keep a regular Who Dat episode under 15 minutes is difficult enough as it is. So with that said, wagwan with our backstory. Well, Amy first appeared in 1993's Sonic CD and originally went by the nickname Rosy the Rascal, which sounds so much like a UK grime MC name that I'm surprised I haven't bumped into her selling her mixtape when walking around the ends. Her debut in Sonic CD was nothing substantial, sadly. She had a fascination for Sonic the Hedgehog and predicted through the use of her tarot cards that she was destined to meet him on Little Planet, a planet that only ever appears in orbit once a year. Her fortune telling turned out to be true, as she does indeed meet Sonic there, though Sonic's feelings didn't turn out to be mutual, and he kinda aired her off when she tried to hug him. She ends up getting kidnapped by Eggman's robot Metal Sonic, and since Sonic is such a nice dude, he goes to save her pink ass, even though he doesn't want to tap her pink ass. What a guy. Anyways, Sonic destroys Eggman's plans, saves Amy Rose, and runs off before she's got time to ask him for his phone number. After a bunch of continuity crushing problematic years later, Amy Rose reappeared again in Sonic Adventure, but this time as a playable character with her own storyline. She also got her hair did and confused everybody for a moment when they thought she did a major retcon and turned into an echidna. But she didn't, she was still a hedgehog. Hedgehog for Life, track 6 on Rosy the Rascal's mixtape, yeah? Her Sonic Adventure storyline sees her meeting a flicky bird who is trying to escape from Eggman's robot Zero. Befriending the bird, Amy vowed to protect it by, grabbing the bird and running away. I don't know, it's not entirely protecting as it is more escaping together. I'm pretty sure the flicky could have continued running away on its own perfectly fine, but, you know, do your thing, Miss Rose, innit? Every little helps. Through her story, she bumps into her longtime crush, Sonic the Hedgehog again, and causes a few headaches for him when she gets captured. Just like old times. While imprisoned, she meets Gamma, one of Eggman's robots sent to retrieve the flicky from her. In turn, this ended up becoming one of the most important meetings that Gamma ever made, but I'll save explaining that for another time. Wrapping up her backstory, Amy saves the bird and then she remained hanging around Sonic and Tails for the rest of the series. Because of this, she began to appear more frequently in the games, maybe not as much of a playable character, but definitely a character that's much more closer to the central cast than how she was during her side character days. Her continued appearance has made her one of the most recognizable female Sonic characters to date, and despite the trend of people hating on the poor girl, she does actually have a fan base. Now it's my job to try and show you why she has that fanbase. Wish me luck. Visual design. As I mentioned earlier, Amy's design changed drastically from her old Sonic CD days. Rosy the Rascal's design sported a green t-shirt with an orange skirt and blue shoes, and really that's quite a lot of colours for a pink hedgehog who is already wearing a red hairband. It's not that I don't like her old design, I do, and I find it to be quite cute, but it's definitely from a long time ago and she probably did need that redesign. Sometimes when dealing with a character redesign you have to be very careful how you go about it. One slip in the wrong direction and you run the risk of train wrecking what made the character appealing in the first place. The change is probably one of the greatest things Sonic Team ever did change within this universe. Gone were the unnecessary extra colours in favour of just two main ones, pink and red. And for a character like Amy Rose, that really is all the colours you need to associate with her name. Amy now sports her trademark red dress, and while it does keep it on the fairly girly side, it switches up her level of class, changing it from the nice girl next door look to what I like to consider as a girl from uptown. This outfit gives her more status now. She looks like she's become somebody. I'll go on record and say that I love her footwear. Seriously, this is probably one of the most simplistic and yet genius inclusions to her whole design. The red shoes with the white socks look is something that has been rocked by Sonic and Tails already, but turning the type of footwear into a boot and simply changing the angle that the iconic stripe runs along just breathes new life into an already existing style. Being real with you, I honestly think it's the best footwear worn by any of the characters in the entire series. Hands down, I think it looks fantastic and really well executed. Also, another nice little addition to her design is the use of her golden ring bracelets. I'm not entirely sure if they're meant to mimic the same golden rings that the characters collect in the games, but if they are, then it's nice to see them being used for something other than collecting for points and preserving your life. It shows Amy likes a little bit of jewellery feeding into that upper class girl vibe, but it's never over the top bling bling being forced into your face. In fact, they sit so neatly within her look I sometimes forget she's actually wearing jewellery. Honestly, I'm finding it hard to actually locate something on her design that I don't like. Amy just seems to work. Hell, she even has green eyes, and you all know how much I personally love the colour green, and even her eye colour is not overdoing it. Not fanboying too hard here, just keeping it real. As far as outfits go for anthropomorphic characters within this series, Amy Rose honestly has one of the most best fitting designs out of the whole cast. In no shape or form does it break away too far from the classic Sonic look, but it's able to bring a whole new flavour of glamour to the lineup that no other character brings. Personality. Alright, this is where we start running into problems with Amy, but I'm going to try and hold it down for the homegirl and see if we can't figure out a way beyond the cringy stuff. As you are aware, Amy's got a thing for Sonic, and this is the aspect people seem to dislike the most about her. She's annoyingly love-struck, and anytime she turns up, she's always chasing after Sonic's Blue D, much to his displeasure. And from a viewer's perspective, that can get annoying to watch. I totally get you if you have a problem with Amy in this regard, but that's it. And really, if you count it up, that's not really much of a reason to write off a whole character when the rest of her personality is actually pretty damn decent and entertaining. Just for a second, imagine she wasn't so loved up. Okay, sure, we can allow her to have a little crush on the hedgehog, but let's just say it wasn't so in your face. What are we left with? Well, for starters, we have a character who's probably the most optimistic out of the entire group. Sure, Sonic is an optimist too, but that's because Sonic has the power to change lives, and therefore believing in himself comes with that power. Amy on the other hand? Amy believes in you. Yes, Sonic will help boost morale, but his morale boosting comes from him knowing he can help you. Amy boosts morale for you by believing in you and what you can do. And even then, she's still going to go out of her way to actively help you achieve your goals, whether you're Big the Cat who's lost his bloody frog again, or you're just some random flicky who's bumped into her on the street and is being chased by some metal trash can. Amy might make Sonic the priority over everybody else, but when you're in love with someone you tend to do that, but it never means she doesn't have interest in the well-being of others. If you pull back her crush on Sonic, she suddenly appears to be a pretty upbeat and lively girl who will help anybody in need. What's wrong with that? Nothing. It fits in perfectly fine with the vibe Sonic and his crew have. Amy also has a pretty snappy and borderline sarcastic nature to her too. It doesn't play a major role in her personality, but it slips through on occasions and entertains us while keeping Amy in her own side of the court. In an odd way, this side of her does kinda remind me of Nami from One Piece. Honestly, I kinda wish this side of Amy Rose came out a bit more because we get some really cool lines like this.
I pity you. Love is not part of your programming. You are missing something good.
Instead of gashy gash lines of cringe like this.
Have no fear. Amy Rose is here. Amy Rose is...
No, leave it. Sure, under the wrong voice actor, Amy gets a little cringy to watch, but be honest with me and name one character in this series that doesn't have a cringy line or two. It's the Sonic series, man. It's a cheese sandwich of cringy lines. So I don't see a need to single out Amy for bad lines when everybody in the series is just as guilty of it. I don't want to diss Amy for being in love with another character either, because it's just love at the end of the day. It's meant to be a joyous emotion when you feel so devoted to someone or something. You can't knock what it is. But I will agree with people who say Sega really need to make it a secondary part of her personality now, rather than the main driving force. Thankfully, as she has grown with the series, she's become more independent, focusing on other things rather than just Sonic. That's good character growth, considering this is the Sonic universe we're talking about and continuity and progression is a bitch to find here. With any luck, Sega will keep pushing it slowly so that eventually her love for Sonic is no longer infatuated obsession, but has become a more calm level of affection and fondness. Either way, while I might agree with some of the points against her, I do feel the general hate she gets in this area is probably blown way out of proportion. If, like me, you can look beyond the cringy stuff, you'll find there's a cool little personality in there that just needs more time to grow. Importance. So, how important is Amy Rose to the universe she comes from? Well, by this point she's become a core member of Sonic's crew, even going as far as becoming someone that now runs with them on missions. Amy gets involved and plays her part. She's no longer sitting on the sidelines letting everyone else run by her. In that regard, because she's so active, she's currently the leading female character in the series, and it also doesn't look like it's going to change anytime soon either. Her obsession with Sonic may irritate some, but her connection to him actually helps to further build Sonic's rep. Yes, the Blue Hedgehog has got plenty of fangirls here in our real world, but their universe needs to show that Sonic is popular in canon too, and what better way to show someone has a bit of fame to their name than having cast members who are fans of them. She is important to Sonic by giving the series some scope to the fact that Sonic the Hedgehog is an actual celebrity to the world they come from. She also annoys him, and considering not many other characters do it, it allows us to see different sides to Sonic that we only get to see when Amy is around. Amy is also seen as a bit of an older sister figure to Cream the Rabbit, and in the past the two of them usually worked together for one reason or another. In recent times, Amy has continued moving forward with the series while Cream has taken more of a background role, meaning the two of them don't hang out as much as they used to. But in a sense, it could be considered that Amy is reaching her own canon popularity now, and other cast members are looking up to her. Then she's important for the events surrounding E102 Gamma, which I said I'll save for another day, so yeah, moving on. I've also heard some people argue that she's a waste of space in the lineup because it's annoying having to save her all the time. Really now? How many times did you have to save her? Throughout the series, there's only a select few points in which Sonic has to save her because, believe it or not, as the series progressed, Amy began holding her own. She's not a princess in another castle who requires you to save her 50 million bloody times. She's not even a crappy escort mission like some other Sonic love interest that already made a terrible game even worse. So unless they're only just constantly playing Sonic CD and Sonic Adventure over and over and over again, I can't figure out why these people keep having to rescue Amy Rose so bloody much. Whichever way you look at it, Amy Rose has cemented her importance within this universe and played a crucial part in some of the biggest storylines. The characters themselves seem to like having her around, with only Sonic still showing slight signs of mild annoyance, but nothing as major as it used to be. She's become part of the fam, and is definitely worth a whole lot more to this universe now than she was when she first arrived. Conclusion. All cards on the table, I'm going to admit something to you guys because I'm honest about this kind of thing. When I was a kid growing up in the early 1990s and Amy was first introduced to me on a magazine cover, I kinda fell for her. It was only a silly little childhood crush at the time and my brain just filed it alongside the Jessica Rabbit and Cammy crushes I was also having. She kinda faded out of view for a while because Sega were not really pushing her as much in the main line of games. But then Sonic Adventure happened and Sonic Team had taken this little pink hedgehog that I had adored as a kid and gave her a sassy new look with an attitude to match. For someone like me, it just felt nice to see her again. I'm glad she stuck around. I feel she deserves to be here and she's worked hard to hold that spot. And I don't feel any shame to admit it, you know, I am a fan of Amy Rose, I never shy away from it, but at the same time, being real is real, I do look at the character from the perspective of negative criticism and can see why people might have an issue with her. I might not agree with all of your points, but to an extent and within logic, I can see where you might be coming from. Yeah, Amy might have began as a minor annoyance in her early days, but I think she's finding her groove now, and honestly I'll be kind of interested to see if Sega decide to develop her any further than this. And if they don't, it doesn't bother me one bit because she's already my favourite character.